Fresh Killer.
What up, tribe? Episode 8, season 3 of Atlanta is called New Jazz, and I still don't know exactly how I feel about the episode. It was layered with all types of meanings, motifs, and symbolism, as always. It was centered on the characters that we are invested in, or at least it was centered on Paperboy. So that's good. It wasn't like one of these departure episodes. But I'm still grappling with what to make of it all. Before I get into specifics about the episode, spoilers abound. I'm going to tell you some things that are going to happen. That's of course. And I also want to say the reason why I think that I'm just kind of perplexed about the episode is Atlanta has lost my trust. And let me tell you what I mean by that. These past episodes, this season overall, it's kind of pulled me out. The first 2 seasons, Atlanta did something that is very difficult to do. And that is suspend my criticism. They not only suspended my disbelief, but they suspended my criticism to the point where whatever the episodes were about, if it's about Paperboy trying to get a haircut, I'm with it. If it's about some weird white dude throwing a Juneteenth party at his home, like I'm with it. Like I was so entertained and I bought into it so completely that wherever they went, I was just like, I know that I'm going to be better after I watch this. And so I was just with it, right? But this episode, it's been so abrupt, and there have been some things that I just I disagree with and caused me to question the overall direction of the show. And so now I see an episode that is what I wanted in terms of it being based on the plot and the theme of these characters that we love, and I'm still like, Let me tell you why specifically. This particular episode is centered on a trip, a psychedelic drug trip that Paperboy and Darius go on. Darius has taken this particular Belgian drug before. Paperboy has not. And so we don't know how he's going to react. He doesn't know how he's going to react. He had to have been going through a lot in order to say that he wanted to do this. As we know, he's felt like he's lost his voice, his purpose, struggling with fame. And so I guess he just wanted to find himself, as people do, right? They take these drugs and go to a desert and some native reservation and take wild drugs and just, they come to some, experience an epiphany or something like that. So he wants that. And maybe he gets it, but what happens is he has a hat on first, and it's like a purple fancy hat. I'm not too big into fashion. I don't know how to properly explain it, but he's got it on. He meets a character named Lorraine. And one thing that Lorraine says is that, you're running. Somebody spotted him. I'm sorry. Some kids had spotted him, and then he ducks off into the alley, right, to escape these fans, right? And these white kids, super random. He's looking at him from the doorway, and they can't find him because he's ducked off. And then they get a baby and pick it up and start playing football, throw the baby, just wild, random, absurd, ridiculous, but very cruel, funny in a very cruel kind of way. They throw this baby and catch it, a newborn baby, out of the carriage. Wow. So, but at any rate, so he ducks off. And so when he meets this character, Lorraine, which is like this wise person that really knows another character, where you have to wonder, is this human real? Is this human not real? What part of Paperboy's subconscious mind does this character represent? Does this character symbolize? And so I'm going to get back to what the character told him, but they go on this allegorical journey, right? Because it's a trip. Remember, he's high, and this is one of the characters that he meets on the journey, and it's like a real Alice in Wonderland. Edmund Spenser, the Fairy Queen by Spenser. It's one of those things, right? It's one of those types of stories. The character Lorraine says to him, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, "Oh, you don't like fame, but you have this hat on, which is very conspicuous." And that was really profound for me, because we talk about how it's agonizing. He wants to be himself. He wants to be real, but a part of him likes to be noticed and chased and recognized. And I thought it was genius for that character to point it out. Now, let me get into Lorraine. I was pushed out in part because I did not like Lorraine. I did not like the way that Lorraine spoke, just the voice. The character seemed very forced to me, as if it was a satire of a bad bitch. It was a satire of a Black woman who was in the know. And it wasn't authentic to me how the person who played Lorraine did. It just wasn't, I wasn't bought and sold on that character. And so it was just like, I felt like it was casted wrong. I did not like that, right? So moving forward, they go on this, fantastical journey. Later in the episode, they go into this club called the Cancel Club. And so cancel culture. Liam Neeson is there from Taken. And I thought, he was once canceled. I guess maybe he's still, I don't know if he's still canceled or not. I thought that he should have never been canceled. His friend was raped by a Black person. He said, "I was looking for any Black bastard I could find." And I was just like, well, isn't that how people think, especially when someone that violates you is of another race? I didn't get the cancel. I understood what he meant, like in that moment when he was young and out there like that, right? And then even in the interview when he said, he was like, "Oh, wow, I'm tripping, like I'm wrong," right? And people still push for his cancellation. So I wasn't with that. So shout out to Donald Glover for giving him the chance to kind of to be on screen and be on a Black show, and get him, possibly get back in the good graces of Black folk if he was ever out of the good graces at first. And one thing that he says after he gives a spiel or whatever, his Paperboy was like, "I still fool with Taken, whatever. I still fool with your movie," right? And it made me think, like, I think cancel culture for the most part is perpetuated by people that try to defend other people, white people that try to defend Black people, try to defend gay people. I think our skin is much thicker than that. So I think most people feel like how Paperboy feels. But let me get to the overall theme, the overall motif of this cancel club. It was an actual club, right? It's like an allegory, okay? And so it was an actual club and they were in it. It didn't work for me because I didn't understand why Paperboy was canceled. In order for it to work for me, Mel Gibson would have to be there. They would have had to be like all the people who were canceled would have had to be in there and speak on that. But there was only one canceled person in the canceled club. On top of that, Paperboy, and it's like a cabaret type situation. On top of that, Paperboy gets a new nickname. They call him, the person Lorraine calls him New Jazz, right? And it's jazz, it's in Europe. They held on to jazz. I think jazz was popping out there for longer than it was popping here. And he was in that space, in the jazz cabaret, and he's New Jazz. And they introduce him on stage, Paperboy on stage finally, but before they do it, he leaves. And it was just too many layers. I didn't understand the first layer, the cancel club part doesn't work. And then the New Jazz, you would have had to do more to make that resonate. I thought it was a great idea. And I was very invested at that moment where Liam Neeson is talking and he looks down at the table and it says the Cancel Club. And he talks about what it means, right? And then they introduce the topic and then they drop it. But I was just like, I would like to see some Twitter action. I would like to see the thing that got Paperboy canceled. And that never happened. And I just felt like it was somewhat lazy. It was an excellent thing to potentially explore. But they didn't really explore it in the way that they should have. And it left me feeling flat. It left me feeling like let down. They move on. This is all a trip. And Paperboy was like, he wound up in bed. Earn was taking care of him, right? And another thing that what they talk about is what he asked Earn when he finally comes to is, who has my masters? Why did he ask him that? Because the person named Lorraine said, you don't even own your masters. You got your family taking care of the most important aspect of the business, and you don't know what masters are, right? Do you own your own music and all that type of stuff? Lorraine also said that I tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. And if you don't have that, then you're white. But they use the N-word a whole lot, which I didn't like. This excessive use of the N-word, I didn't think it was necessary. But people telling people and receiving what you need to hear as opposed to what you want to hear, that's what makes you Black. If you don't have somebody in your corner doing that, then you are white. And I thought that it was supposed to be deep. I'm sure that it can be interpreted as deep, but I didn't think it was that deep. I was like, it felt really forced. And a lot of the components of this episode felt really forced to me. Getting back to Paperboy confronting Al about the masters, and Al he says, who owns my masters when you negotiated my contract? And he says, you do. And I said, I think that opens up the door for Al being a somewhat shiesty, untrustworthy, incompetent character. That's what it opened for me, because I don't believe him. If he had his masters and he's getting radio play and he's going on a tour of Europe, they would be a lot more comfortable. I feel like the money would really not be an issue. And I'm not saying that money is an issue, but that's a level of, to be an independent artist and having, like, whoa. If he would have known that already, I feel like if he would have had his masters, I feel like he wouldn't even have to ask that. He would have already known that. So to me, it seemed like, I think there's some kind of shadiness going on. I didn't believe Al in that moment. The biggest reveal in the episode was that he said, where's Lorraine? That's what Paperboy said when he woke up. And he said, your mother? So apparently the character Lorraine was supposed to be, I don't know. It's Paperboy. The person shared a name, Lorraine, with Paperboy's mom. I don't know if it was supposed to be, to what degree was it supposed to be his mother? Because it's kind of creepy, because when they meet some people in a cabaret, they ask, are you guys having sex? How long have you guys been having sex? He's like, we're not having sex. Like, oh, she has sex with all the rappers, right? And so this is why I'm perplexed. I'm like, is it supposed to be his mother all around, or just the name of his mother? But either way, when you attach the name to that person, then there's a connection, but that connection also, it felt forced in a lot of ways to me. So that's what I have. The episode's called New Jazz. It is an episode worth watching. I felt like it could have been better in a lot of ways. Once again, this season is clearly not nearly as good as the first two seasons. And that's what I have. I appreciate you all for checking this out. As always, subscribe to the tribe and peace, tribe. And another one.